Hello, my name is Mage, this is Black and White Thinking, and this video will be my dramatic gay thoughts on Eat, Bang, Kill issue 4, the Harley Quinn show comic spin-off written by T. Franklin and Max Sarin. Let's do this. So here we are, halfway through EBK, and as always, I have opinions. They're not that much different from last time. At some point I'm probably going to sound like I'm repeating myself. 4 issues in and I can't stop now. So let's talk the good, the bad, the ugly, the Twitter rants, and the guest appearances. And at this point I'm also going to assume that you guys are here because you want to hear my rambly thoughts and not— wow, that sounded narcissistic. And not because you wanted a sufficient recap. So I'm going to assume you've all read it. And let's do this in list form because it worked last time. Likes. What did I like? Okay, again, I'm going to repeat myself. I say this every time, but every time it gets better. I love the art style here. I don't know, DC has been experimenting with many art styles recently in the comics, and this one is by far one of my favourites. These bed panels are so good. They're some of my favourite Harley and Ivy panels, maybe ever. Max captures them really well. T and Max also are really good at making the writing and the art flow. There's like a lot of continuity. Like at the end of last issue, Ivy was complaining that she couldn't get Harley's dress off, and in this issue you can see the scissors on the floor. The sex swing. Don't know what to say about that other than great. These moments are beautiful. Few and far between in this series, unfortunately, but they are beautiful. I liked most of the guest appearances this issue. I'm a big fan of Vixen, Z, and Vic generally, all 3 of them. Especially Z, she's my fave. Witches gotta look after each other. I also appreciate the diversity in which characters have been appearing. I appreciate the diversity in sexual orientations and background characters, and just— this feels very millennial, insert clip of Alana saying caramel queer, and that I do appreciate. The Flint stuff doesn't make much sense in DC canon, given the whole supervillains poisoning the water thing, but I get the comparison, go for it. These comics are also a bit L-word gay at this point, but like, why the fuck not? Harley and Ivy are always surrounded by straight people. I'm bored. I appreciate the BTS references with Livewire, Girls Night Out, yada yada. Like, I get it, I see you. Do have some more thoughts on Livewire that will be coming in a minute though. My last like, interabled sex scene, Beyonce reference, perfect. Beyonce is Beyonce's best album, by the way. Mine, EXO, Partition, best album by far. Few things I'm curious about, moving on from my likes. Ignoring the whatever attempt at saying something about eco-terrorism and Flint and Mephetic, I'm not really sure where we're going with Mephetic. I feel like I'm missing something a bit obvious. Are they supposed to just be like a metaphor for Ivy's trauma? Like, they were calling themselves a poisonous villain and comparing themselves to Ivy, but like, they're the opposite of Ivy. Different type of poison. His list was cool, but again, is he like a metaphor for Ivy's baggage? Is this her thing? You know, defeating the other type of poison? I don't know, I don't get it. I guess we'll find out. But my biggest question marks with this issue tend to be with Mephetic. Don't think it's bad, I'm just curious, in a good way, I think. And okay, here it comes. What is actually happening with Ivy in these comics? I don't want to complain too much. I'm about to, but I don't want to. But, okay, for those of you that don't know, someone on Twitter, Editing Mage, put a screen cap here, had a conversation with T a few weeks ago and said, you know, Ivy's out of character. And T replied, like, no, she's not. Harley got her killed and she never processed it. She has a lot of trauma. Harley should get over it, kind of shit. That was not exactly what was said. Again, Mage, put it on screen. But essentially, T does not think Ivy is out of character in these issues. I don't think she's out of character. I think her character is out of speed. So, take for example, this scene with the headphones and the ignoring. Right. If this scene had taken place 2 years into Ivy and Harley's relationship and they were arguing about, I don't know, Harley putting empty milk cartons back in the fridge, this wouldn't seem like a big deal to me. Probably wouldn't even blink. I really like the headphones and the bat. I should have mentioned that in my likes. All that cool stuff they do with like Ivy creating items. Awesome. If that argument had taken place with like a stable couple, wouldn't have blinked. But it didn't. It took place with them a few hours, still like only 2 days after all this stuff has happened with the wedding, and Harley and Ivy still haven't actually just had the conversation. And at this point, it's like tedious to read a little bit, especially when I know that because she tweeted about it, T believes that Ivy's reactions are Ivy. And look, nothing tells me T doesn't get this. Sorry, T, if you ever come across this, why would you be watching this? Nothing tells me T doesn't quite get Harley and Ivy within this universe than the fact that she says Harley got Ivy killed. Harley didn't get Ivy killed. That's bullshit. It's just like bullshit. Ivy died for Harley, and she'd do it again. And that's how you know she's Ivy, right? That's the fucking thing. Kind of irrelevant to this point about characteristics, but T also tweeted that she didn't really care what the audience thought. She cared more about what DC executives thought about her work, which I feel like I get what she was trying to say there, but no, incorrect. Really rubbed me the wrong way. And I've been really defensive of T for weeks, months, while this has all been going on, and I know she's been getting a lot of shit on Twitter. I just feel like writers shouldn't have Twitter. Like all writers, all the time. Do not interact with your audience. It is so bad for your psyche. Especially with fiction, you don't need other people's influences. Once it's out in the world, it's out in the world, you know? Back to Ivy being out of character. Again, not massively, and it's not that it can't be saved, and to be perfectly honest, I don't care about these comics in the way that I care about what actually happens in the show, yada yada yada. However, her responsive dissonance, her morality, it feels weird. And not just in how she talks to Harley, it's also this whole being scared of losing friends all of a sudden. Like Livewire isn't her friend, she should be more scared of losing Harley, which she's risking by being a dick. She talks to Livewire like they're best pals, but this is the first we've ever heard of Livewire, and our Ivy, our show Ivy, is very much portrayed as being a person that struggles not only with relationships with other people, but specifically women, and what it means to be a female villain. So this idea that she's like upset about fucking people over at the wedding, about fucking Kite Man over, is just... I'm not saying Ivy wouldn't care morally, but in those moments, she's Poison Ivy. And she usually has better ways of dealing with her trauma than using Harley as a punching bag. And you have to remember, Harley was the person that taught her how to do that, not just as her friend, but as her literal psychotherapist. She wants to help people, I kind of get that, but also, I just feel like, again, if this was in the show a few episodes in, maybe, but I feel like it should be at the bottom of her priorities list. I think becoming a superhero to morally soothe her soul is just... I don't necessarily agree that would be how Show Ivy, specifically, would act. Now, while Show Ivy is quite into protecting children, that also comes up quite a lot in the show, so I get this, it's not that I don't get it. This plot would be easier for me to swallow if the first two issues of these comics had focused on these two having a conversation. I can't focus on the B plot, which is Mephetic, Jim Gordon, blah 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 blah, when the A plot is being so heavily ignored, which is Harley and Ivy's relationship. Anyone involved in this show, in this comic, is kidding themselves if they think anyone is here for anything else. Sometimes you enjoy Harley separately, sometimes you enjoy Ivy separately, sometimes you enjoy them both together in their own things. This show specifically is about their romantic relationship, and the show has shoved that down our throats. So to not focus on that now, at the most crucial time, it's just really infuriating as a reader. Let's check in, let's, have a moment. Which is why it really bothered me when Livewire was like, you broke Kite Man's heart. Why the fuck does Livewire care? Please tell me why Livewire, or literally any rogue, would give a shit. Maybe I'm just too much of a DC loser and I have a very specific way of thinking about things in regards to how the characters should be portrayed. And this is not even about Kite Man, this annoyed me. This isn't Livewire speaking. This is T speaking. This is the writer speaking. Call me paranoid, but sometimes you can just tell. And this whole, why did I fall in love with Harley? You broke Kite Man's heart. I hurt all the people I love. If these notions all exist within our Ivy, then she should be able to acknowledge that she is hurting Harley right now by not addressing their shit. But she's not. It's just tedious as an audience member to feel like I'm missing out on the most important thing. Not only is the B plot, the whole being chased by whoever every issue, not only is it a distraction to us as the audience, but it's also a distraction that Ivy is implanting within the plot, right? She is distracting herself by going to save people, by caring about people that she's never cared about. She's continuing the same behaviour from The Bachelorette.
Good morning, Poison Ivy.
I need to get out of here.
She needs to get out of here.
Wait, what? Are you sure?
So sorry, but there's no way off the island today. The invisible plane is out picking up some investors.
Well, is there an invisible boat? Or a visible boat? Is there a fucking fisherman? A trawler?
Yes, look for boats.
Oh, unfortunately, no.
Harley, I fucked up, okay? I will be in my room until this weekend is over.
Like, this is the beginning of the rest of their lives, and it doesn't feel like it. It feels like any old Tuesday where two old fishwives are nagging at each other. The dialogue's just a bit fickle, and I would be happy if I never heard the word impetuous ever again at this point. In these comics, I need them to talk to each other more like this.
All I'm saying is that you can do way better than Joker. I mean, you're smart, you're strong, you're in control of your own destiny.
And less like this.
But as your BFF, and only F, I think you can do better than Kite Man.
And what's the right way to take that?
you know, now that you're branching out from only caring about things with branches, you gotta get out there and play the field. You're the new Poison Ivy. I mean, you don't have to commit to the first guy who's nice to you.
Your ex-boyfriend tried to kill you several times.
It was an inside joke.
And honestly, that is pretty much all I can say about this comic. Like, Vixen was cool, but we've only known her for 5 minutes. Harley and Ivy's plot was not addressed. The art is sexy as fuck. Also, last note, Ivy's animal powers, that's a nice little note to a few things in the comics. I really liked that. Ivy is so OP, it's actually ridiculous. I love how there are actual gods in the DC universe, and Ivy still manages to be stronger than all of them, even by accident. So yeah, again, this is basically me just one long commenting at you, but there you go. Those are my thoughts. Hope you enjoyed them. Let me know yours. I'm always interested. I love talking to you guys about this stuff, and even when I don't get back, I read everything you say, and it super helps me just feel connected with people, which doesn't happen often. So anyway, thanks guys. Mage out.